Hey there folks, and welcome to Art Notes, the podcast where myself, Jonathan Liddell, has a chat and interviews fellow creatives and entrepreneurs. Today I've got the absolute privilege of being joined by Valerie Duguid, global speaker in cancer research, all things social enterprise and fitness and health. Val, thank you very much for coming on. I really mean this. I really do appreciate you just taking the time to share your knowledge. Who are you? What do you do? Give us an insight into your day-to-day at the minute.
Okay, well, first of all, thanks very much, Jonathan, for inviting me on. So my day-to-day at the moment is very quickly, prior to lockdown, I had a traditional health and fitness business, but I also have a charity, and I also had started a social enterprise. And the social enterprise was going to be a building in Dundee with sports scientists where we could help rehab people that live with cancer, mental health, stroke, etc. And then lockdown hit, and then, well, there was no opportunity, or so we thought. So due to really some challenges in the provision of these services during lockdown, I woke up one morning and thought, right, I have to take gemology online. So what does that actually mean? It means that myself and 3 other board members with an IT guy and about 7-8 other instructors in Dundee, we filmed exercise videos. I filmed all the clinical stuff, and we built an online gym, Jonathan. So we have gogym.uk, which is an online gym. It's a social enterprise, and I'm happy to explain what that is.
Please,
so we have this on. Yeah, so we have an online gym, and the business model is a social enterprise. So social enterprise is where, unlike traditional business, the profits don't go to the owners or the board members or shareholders or anything. It goes right back into what the social purpose is. So although Go Gym is essentially an online gym, the profits that we make from the online gym will allow us to either improve the service to exercise for cancer and mental health and diabetes, or it will allow us to train instructors, improve coaching, etc. for that industry that we now know as the shielded population.
Okay, got it. That's amazing that you flipping heck. So all that's going on, I'm taking a minute just to really go back over this again. It's like you've got your background in this, you're seeing the world change before your eyes. You still want to be able to reach your target audience and be able to ship your services, ship your product, be able to help people in their day-to-day, especially with everything that's going on. And you just decided, right, that's it. We can either roll over and die, or we can learn to adapt. We can get the right people around us that we need, and we can crack on. So take us back a little bit further, Val. How did you start with this? What made Valerie Duguid go, do you know what, I'm going to get into I'm going to get into fitness and health. I'm going to find what was your, just give us a glimpse of how that happened. Like where did this begin?
Okay, so my interest, I suppose, was really always in, or so I thought actually, my interest was always in clinical, and I'll put that into context. So I grew up in a house where my father had premature heart disease.
Okay.
So I would have been about 11 or 12 when my dad had his first heart attack. And as a child, that is really scary. I would come home from school. I would be going to aunties to have tea because my mum worked at night. My mum would come and pick me up. And it was all very disjointed. It was scary. And then when my dad came home from hospital, it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I realised that there was a name for what I became, which was an emotional carer. So I became very responsible and very aware of stressors in my dad, because I did not want to, in a sense, stress him out. So I learned all these techniques and tips on how to probably to be a better daughter, in a sense. But that is quite a burden on a young person.
Definitely. Yeah.
And I suppose, to answer your question, because it's twofold, my father would have benefited from, so the knowledge that I have now, so my father passed away prematurely, that would be 22 years ago, but my dad would have benefited from the knowledge that I have So I suppose I don't want other families to not benefit from the wonderful world of clinical exercise science. So no longer does someone having a heart attack mean that they are disabled or they can't do things. So the body can improve if you find someone that has that knowledge, and the impact then on the family is greatly reduced. So the parents will have less challenges, less worries about the person's condition. There might be financial struggles, Jonathan, because my dad wasn't able to work.
Of course.
So the children then can be in a house where dad's or mum's condition is actually getting positively dealt with. And therefore the impact is different. I'm not saying there'll be no impact, but the impact is very, very different and can have a very, very different outlook for that whole family going forward. So I vowed that I didn't even know that it had a name, clinical exercise science. I had no idea that it was even a thing, but I just wanted to become an authority in exercise rehab and exercise and chronic illness and all of those things. So that's what I wanted.
Got you. So the next stage from that, then it was like there was your experiencing this firsthand. You're aware that actually you're obviously not alone. There are other families who are most likely going through this. The next stage for you was uni. Did you do a
No, I didn't actually do uni first. No, I didn't actually. So I grew up and lived in Dundee. And when I did have a look at the university, so in Dundee at that time, it would have been Aberdeen, Dundee University. And when I looked at the degrees available, there wasn't anything related to what I wanted to do. So I decided to go down the personal training route. So go down the fitness industry route, first of all.
Yep.
So I would have been, I don't know, in my mid to late 20s. I'm working as a sales and marketing rep with a company car and expense account. I'm competing nationally at karate. I just got into competing for Scotland. And but what that meant, Jonathan, was that my job allowed me to give my mum and dad a bit of a lifestyle that they hadn't had for a while, because my dad hadn't worked for a lot of years because he had heart disease. So I went into the fitness industry through the personal training route, and I was just qualifying as a personal trainer, still holding down a full-time job, and my father passed away. So I moved jobs, but I now had my diploma that I'd been working on for 2 years, and I moved jobs, and I was only in that new job for 2 weeks, and as I say, my dad passed away. So what I did was I probably reevaluated, is probably the most accurate way I can describe this, and long story short, I decided, well, it's now or never. I'm going to set up my health and fitness business, and that's what I did.
So that right there, I mean, what a story right there. But I really wanted to hear how that story panned out, because there will be so many people who are probably thinking, oh wow, that sounds familiar, or oh wow, actually I'm at this stage in the story, and how do I just get to that next step? And actually, I do have a million responsibilities, but what is it that I really want? And just like you said there, a case of, I'm going to choose to reevaluate now. If this is the way life is going, this is the moment where I'm going to choose to sit back and go, this is not what I planned for at all. But if I don't sit down and have a look at the landscape, I'm never going to be able to push forward. But pushing forward, you certainly are, or have done.
Well, that's a really good observation that you've made. So let me just give you a little bit of context then, and you're to blame for me telling you this next bit, Jonathan, because you've just opened the gateway. So
gateway's open.
Exactly. So in my determination, newfound wisdom, my father's passed away. I'm absolutely devastated. I've just qualified, and part of my motivation was gain knowledge, help my dad, gain knowledge, help my dad, gain knowledge, help my dad.
Oh, of course.
My dad passes away.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, right, I'm going to set up my own business. And at 27 or whatever it was, I didn't have any savings because I enjoyed holidays and whatever else. And I didn't have any savings. So I thought, right, if I'm setting up my business, I don't want to go and take on a loan. What will I do? And the idea was, I'm going to sell every stick of furniture that I have in my house and raise money, because I needed a car, I needed equipment. And why did I need all of that? Because when I approached local gyms to say, look, I just qualified as a personal trainer, will you let me in? And when I went to the Business Gateway, Jonathan, this is now 22 years ago. When I went to the Business Gateway in Dundee, I was the first personal trainer they'd ever worked with. Now, a Business Gateway is there to help you achieve in your business. And I was somewhat ridiculed. I was asked, personal trainers, does that not just happen in LA? So it wasn't really well received. Okay, so I've now got, my dad's just died. I've setting up my business. I've gone to the Business Gateway. The person that I see there is somewhat ridiculing my business idea. And then to get money, I sell every single stitch of furniture. I kept my bed, so I sold my lampshades, my leather sofa with the chairs, the coffee table. I sold my TV, my video, my hi-fi. I sold it at a car boot sale, and I made, from memory, around about £3,000 at the time. And I remember that evening I sat and cried in my living room. I thought, what the hell have I done? Now, 6 months later, the business took off, and I was busy from minute one. I bought a second-hand van that went clunkety-clunkety-clunk along the road with my fitness equipment in the back. I got beautiful business cards made up and advertised. This was in the days when you advertised in newspapers and yellow pages as opposed to social media, but I advertised, and I never looked back. And within 6 months, I was able to replace all of my furniture and get a television back. That was great. So although the moment of, right, I'm doing this, trust me, it was met with some realities from, as I say, the Business Gateway, and then the selling of my furniture. So that was interesting.
That is so much sacrifice. I mean, I've brought this up on the podcast a couple of times with different guests in terms of like what sacrifice means to different people, and what that's meant over their journey in terms of like, well, I had to give up the idea of a stable job because I wanted to pursue this, but I had a little bit of capital, and that's how I kind of got ahead or what have you. But you have just told me that you sold everything you owned and then received additional confrontation from an establishment that you thought was meant to be there to build up who you were going to be. So the next thing I have to ask is, where the hell did your resilience come from when everything around you was falling apart?
Do you know what, Jonathan? I wish I knew. So I don't know if it is. Honestly, I don't know if it's resilience. I don't know if it's stupidity. I don't know if it's just, I swear to God, I just don't know if it's just pig-headedness. But I see things really, really clearly in my head. And about, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago now, I remember someone, I won an award for my health and fitness business, because Healthy Solutions went on to become, I subcontracted to 30 folk in Dundee, so 30 Amazing. Smaller businesses were piggybacking on the back of Healthy Solutions. Amazing. And really, so it became a success. It was a financial success. It was success in the community. There was lots of people benefiting from the service. I was able to give lots of work to other smaller businesses, which was great. But the giver. But I don't know, as I say, if it is just, as I say, pig-headedness, but I do see things. And I remember I got this award for innovation through Women Ahead, and I can't remember, but it got some award. But what was really interesting was I had to get an interview, and then when I was getting presented with this award, the person used the phrase visionary. And I thought that's really, really interesting, because I've always seen this thing in my head that I want, that I think will help and benefit people from a health perspective. But what I've realised is that because it's sort of new, or it's maybe a bit unique to Dundee, Scotland sort of thing, when other people don't share your vision, that can become scary to them. And instead of having the honesty to say, do you know what, I don't see what you see, but boy, I'm going to help. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that say, I don't see what you see, it scares me, so I'm going to make things difficult for you. That's probably as nice as I could be about it on your podcast.
Sure. and I know what you're referring to. That's and it can come from the most unlikely and unhelpful places, especially if you have gone to seek out help only to receive pushback. I think there's a lot to be said for, if you suddenly think, right, actually I want things to change for the better, this is what I'm going to do, it can rock the boat of other people around you, because it's just so different from what they have grown to know as this is my stable corner of the world, and I've fought tooth and nail to get to this, and anything that looks different, I'm either going to be jealous about it, or I'm not going to help you because it's just too out of my comfort zone, when all you needed was a yep, on you go. We are strange creatures, people, and yet there is still people out there who will give you the time of day to be like, do you know what, I've never thought about things that way, but flipping out, you sound like you really, really want that. How can we make this happen? I think if there's anything I've picked up over the past few while is, we've got two eyes forward facing on the front of our face. We are creatures that need an aim, and if we can visualize that aim, you're 50% of the way there, but then you really need to act on it, to put in the hard work and do your research to get there.
Absolutely.
I think
if you think about it,
yeah.
But if you think about it, everything has happened twice, because the first time it had to happen in someone's brain. So someone had to see something before it became reality. So it's happened twice. So whoever invented chair first thought chair.
Yep.
And then made a chair. So for me, I have this vision of this. Well, I suppose what I'm all about is taking a lot of the hype out of the health and fitness world, taking a lot of the trying to get people to be dependent on sort of dodgy information, dodgy solutions, or creating an anxiety in someone of need. So instead of giving someone all the answers, you tend to get, in health and fitness books and health and fitness magazines, there's always some of the information. But, I have worked with thousands and thousands of people in my 23 years doing what I'm doing. And I've been really fortunate, really, really fortunate to do that. And the biggest takeaway from them, to me, is that spending some time with me, it has helped them look at health and fitness in a totally different way. Because my vision, or my motto, if I've been employed by someone to help them with their physical health. Now, the people that I'm normally working with and have been for the last at least 20 years are those that have been diagnosed with cancer, or they've had a stroke, or they've got diabetes. So people are very vulnerable. So, so whoever's watching this, just for a minute, you are, whoever you are at this moment in time, you're going to have a sense of yourself, a sense of your physicality, a sense of everything that you can do. You're feeling vital. You can just go and do what you want to do. And I have this conversation with my clients, because the day before their diagnosis, although they knew there was something up with them, they still felt that they were vital. Then all of a sudden something comes along and takes that away.
Yep.
Now,
yep.
I was just having a conversation with someone yesterday about a chap who he's referring to me who's got prostate cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things about prostate cancer, especially in a man, for example, so men really identify with their physicality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they are physical beings,
yep.
and they really identify with their strength, their build, they're capable, they are mm-hmm. maybe seeing themselves as the protector, whatever that is for that man.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden the treatment that he will receive for his prostate cancer will have an effect on his testosterone levels. So he will then a very high chance of developing some fat around the breast. So it looks like they're developing breasts. They will get a little bit hippie and a little bit abdominal fat, and they will become essentially quite emotional and quite
yep.
prone to crying. So when I'm working with someone like that, I see that as an absolute privilege, because very quickly I've got to let them know that I understand on an academic level, but hopefully they'll soon see I've got emotional intelligence to back that up, because you don't get any university qualifications in emotional intelligence. I'd say that's yep. a pretty natural thing. But you've got to be really, really real with this person right away. Yep. So what I find in the fitness industry, and my motto has always been, I do not want to help you with your physical health, mm-hmm. whilst I sabotage your mental health by making you feel dependent on me. Now, so I am conscious. So when a client needs me, that's when I have to be and have my most integrity, because I'm aware that they are hyper vulnerable.
Yep.
That is a time when other health and fitness outlets or individuals can become less interested, if you like, mm-hmm. in your health and fitness, but a bit more exploitative, because yep. they've found your weakness.
Yep.
So if you're in a health and fitness space, it really helps that your own spirit and your soul are in a healthy place.
Oh wow!
Because
yep.
how can you then lead someone through their dark days if your intention is almost about your own needs, so whether yep. they be financial or whatever, but you're not putting your clients' needs at the forefront.
Yep.
So I would like to think that anybody that has ever been a client of mine, and I know that because that's what they tell me, is that was always obvious.
Yep. I have so much to say on that, but I will try and condense it and articulate it as best as possible, because everything you've just said is very, it's quite dear to my heart, actually, and I can say that with all honesty, because of ways I have tried to implement or have experienced everything that you're saying in teaching, in fitness, and in lots of different ways. But if I can actually rein this in, I just hit 30. I grew up with Schwarzenegger. I grew up with this image of strength, and then, but obviously as we've kind of reached into the 2000s, and now 2021, it's like the social media game of here's an image of perfection. Here's fitness models. Here's free YouTube tutorials that I can't do the half of them, and yet. And then it's like, as soon as you delve into it, it's a paid program, and it's like the only people that I really engage with, I mean, especially on a fitness level, are those who you then build trust and a relationship with, where you're a bit like, oh, that's why you're doing this. It's actually, for me to be able to engage with this, it's more about this. It's more about the mental health than it is about the physicality of it. And just to kind of touch back on what you were saying with when you'd spoken to men who had suddenly found their testosterone levels dropping, and side effects of that. I mean, to to have somebody that you know is on your side, and you put it so well, both from a scientific and educational point of view, where you understand the science of what's going on, as well as I'm a human. I resonate with what you're doing. I'm on your side. Let's get you through this. There's so much in there, but like for me listening to that, it just really does hammer home the importance of trusted relationships, but also the real importance of just moving your body, just exercising, just doing what you can actually do, opposed to like idolizing some Greek god of a figure and then thinking, well, that's just so far removed from my day to day. Why would I even bother? Or actually, I've got no interest in idolizing that type of lifestyle. Why is it beneficial to me? Why would picking up a pair of dumbbells be beneficial to me? Why would getting out in the fresh air when I've got the comfort of home? I've got nothing against comfort per se, but I in my own journey, I have personally, like I was, Val, I was the wee, I mean, I still am a wee guy, but I was certainly the short wee guy at school who didn't have an ounce of muscle on him. And it was only in my later years of uni when I started going to a gym regularly. And it had nothing to do with chasing women or looking big and fit. It was because I needed a release. And I think to then hear that you have a back, and I know fine, I've seen the feedback that your clients have given you, and it really is a case of you met me where I was, you empowered me to get through this mess of that I was found myself in, and I have reestablished a relationship with exercise. I just absolutely ranted there, but please jump on. Like if you, I don't want to hog this. Like you jump in.
No. It's a two-way thing. But you've really just made me think. And I think, I'd like to sort of share something, obviously, with you, and then because it might obviously help, help your viewers. So, so again, it's putting a little bit of things into perspective. I'll try and be really, really quick here. So I trained as a PT, and then I went on to become an exercise specialist, because I did level 3 qualifications, and then I did level 4 qualifications in cancer and cardiac and all those kinds of things. But what happened was I then reached a level within the fitness industry at that time that there was no other qualifications that I could get. Now, when I say I did these, I also had deep and shallow water aerobics. I was also, there was all kinds of things that I could do. But there was nothing at a higher level, and there was no other level 4 courses. So that's when I went to university, and that was in 2007.
Right.
Okay.
This is.
Yep. But what I wanted to say, and again, it's to try and take the pressure off of people, because people have lots of pressure on themselves. You said it really eloquently about idolizing images, and it's much worse nowadays with social media. So what I'm trying to do now is try to take some pressure about the health and fitness industry off of your viewers, okay, to give them a bit of a get out of jail free card, as it were. So, and it's important to do this, that they have this little bit of information in a sense. So I travelled up and down. So I live in Dundee, Scotland, and I travelled for 2 years up and down to Bolton in Lancashire to do my personal training diploma. Now, why did I do that? The reason was, around about that time, Jonathan, so people like me who were looking to switch careers were all, they were jumping in and training to become personal trainers. But what they did was they found that for some reason, that the personal training course was a little bit too academic for them, and they started complaining or giving feedback to the companies that were providing these courses that they were a little bit difficult. And what was the main difficult part was the muscles insertions and origins. Now, whatever you think, to me, that is the absolute foundation of being a personal trainer, because you do really need to know where your hip joint and your knee joint is, what movements they make. Because if you don't have the fundamentals of basic mechanics, what is it then you're actually doing with your clients? And I will clarify that, I promise.
Yeah, no,
So what
right.
happened was the companies responded, Jonathan, to these complaints, or a nicer term, feedback, and the way that they responded was, let's just remove that module. So let's just remove it. So you've now got now this is not the personal trainer's fault.
Okay.
Because no one thinks I'm going to go and be a personal trainer and I'm going to be the worst personal trainer I can be. That's just doesn't happen.
Sure.
So although I am now educated, honours degrees and all this stuff, I'm still a personal trainer, but my focus is a slightly different client group, right? Because I still do one-to-one.
Yep.
So anyway. So when companies decided they were going to remove that from the content, they then had to use up the time, because they didn't say, right, we're going to remove that content, so we're now going to knock £500 off the cost. No, they had to fill that gap. And what they filled it with is they filled it with fluff. And the reason that I can say that is because I worked for some training companies as a trainer to teach people to become personal trainers or to become exercise to music instructors. In fact, for one company, I actually wrote their exercise to music course. So what they filled it with fluff. And so basically just used up the time. So what you've ended up with, and again, well, to a point, it's not the fault of the personal trainer in a sense, but they've qualified, but they necessarily don't have enough stuff about really understanding the basics of body movement. So what does that mean? So why am I trying to let off the general public in a sense? Now, what they filled it with a slightly boot camp mentality. And part of the sales pitch at the time, unfortunately, which was something that I couldn't buy into, which is why I didn't last at these companies, was if you just give your client a really, really hard session, they're going to realise that they don't train like that on their own, and therefore it creates need. Because in a lay person, with the greatest of respect, and I mean this,
sure. No, you're all right.
If you don't know what you don't know. So if you're a lay person, if your daily work is accountancy or nursing or a carer or you're a bin lorry driver, that's what you're an expert in. So if you might just think, because you've read a magazine, I have to exercise harder and that will allow me X, Y, and Z results. Well, no, that's a lay person's mindset. And that's why you need a professional to say, right, let's take your thoughts, let's give you some wider information and see if that's still how you feel. Then let's have an adult conversation, and then let's direct you towards what it means to be healthier and fitter. But what you've then got is you've got a trainer who, with the best will in the world, because that's their training, they will, in a sense, beast you in a session, you leave really hot and sweaty, and you think you've had a great time. But for the next few days, you're in absolute agony. Yep. Because the trainer had really no sense of how to monitor your fitness as it is. That trainer had no understanding of your range of movement, your strength. So they just went into their training mode, gave you a really difficult session. At the time, you think, wow, God, I never trained like that myself. But in the next few days, you are left either with DOM, so really heavy delayed onset muscle soreness, or you are injured. And then you go back to that person because you don't know anything else. Now, what I like, sorry, you what? Sorry, I'm
no, shoot, no, I'm listening. No, keep going.
What I like to do with people is just say, why are you exercising in the first place? And do you know the difference between exercise and physical activity? And that's something I'd like to share for your viewers.
Let's hear that.
Again,
please.
To try and take some pressure off. See, the fitness industry is always trying to apply the pressure and get you needy get you. And I'm the opposite. Like, get the pressure off. Get the pressure off.
Why are we here in the first place? Yeah.
If you've got information and you've got information, you don't need the pressure. So the situation with me asking the clients, what is it what would health and fitness mean to you, so you understand their level of knowledge, and then it's your job to do a little bit of education. So for example, if fitness classes. So these are conversations I have had with clients this year. So between the start of this year up to now, I have had these conversations.
I'm glad you said that.
So this understanding or lack of understanding is still prevalent now. It's not an old-fashioned thing. It's still happening right now. So I'll say to people, so you go to 5 classes a week at your gym, and how long have you been doing that? Years. And are you fit? I don't know. Can you do X, Y, and Z? I don't know. Are your hamstrings at the right length? Don't even know what you mean. Do your hip joints work correctly? I have absolutely no idea. So my point is, you have to, for me, it really helps a person being able to relax about health and fitness when you understand what the body needs to remain healthy and to remain fit. So I've picked 2 aspects of fitness there, something aerobic and joints. Now there's 5 aspects of fitness, and most people, so men and women, tend to operate only in 2 aspects of fitness, and they leave out the other 3. So if you are going to classes and you are leaving the health and fitness to the instructor, who has maybe done a couple of weekend courses, but what they've got is they've got good razzmatazz and they've got good hey, that's wonderful, but the knowledge that you're needing, now I'm not saying that you're not enjoying yourself, I'm not saying this, but you're not going to the class for the first thing to be enjoying yourself. You're going for what you think is exercise, and enjoyment is second. So my point is, why don't you take a little step back and think, right, am I flexible enough? Does my heart and my lungs, are they functioning normally? Are they functioning suboptimally? Are they working optimally? How do you know these things? What I found in my 20 plus years, and I'm still finding, is that people exercise aimlessly because they don't really understand that there is something to be achieved and then something to be maintained. And once you find out those things about your own body, you will find out that you are possibly able to exercise less or focus on other aspects of your fitness that you are ignoring because you maybe didn't even know that they existed in the first place. So I'm going to stop talking now.
No. That's magic, because again, there's so much misinformation out there, or the just I was going to say borderline, but it isn't, or just toxic expectations which are put on to people to the point where they're like, I've got no interest in any of this, or I'm kind of carrying on with this, but actually I'm not seeing any real improvement in X, Y, or Z. Their knowledge is limited. Anytime I pay for the newest diet or what have you, all I feel is that I have short-term gains, and then suddenly I'm just feel like I've been screwed over by yet another company. It is so refreshing to hear that there are members of the industry like yourself whose heart is put above their bank balance, where you're actually like, the reason that I'm in this is to educate people, to empower people, to have them understand who they are, and more importantly, who they are on an individual basis. What are your personal needs, and what are your personal goals? How can I actually help you to achieve within that environment for whatever you're setting for yourself? And again, it's like, you're not here saying all my clients are Instagram models. What you're saying is, I've got people who are absolutely bust up, but I am giving them something to actually empower themselves and get them healthier and fitter. I really do. Again, I marvel at that so much, because again, over the past 10 years, like, I have really cottoned on to just how important fitness and exercise just is for my mood, for my outlook on life, for even little things like, oh, I can learn to do something new, and even just the endorphins of oh, look, I made a slight accomplishment with that. Can I then apply that same mentality to something totally different? But again, like to really push this, there's so much misinformation and so much pressure in the wrong departments that it really puts people off. So if you're actually saying, I'm not doing all that, what I'm saying is, who are you and what do you want out of this? How can we actually empower you to get there? I just think that's awesome and so needed.
Well, do you know what I love, right? See when I work with someone, I absolutely love, because I'll have this conversation with them, and they'll say, Valerie, I don't even know what you're talking about. I'll say, right, so let's go back to the basics.
Yeah.
So let's see how healthy your joints are. Let's see if you've got any flexibility issues or stiffness. Now you're thinking, why is that important? Well, it's important. It's important to know where you have challenges and weaknesses, because if you were to then suddenly go and do a high impact class or suddenly start running, that's not really the best approach for what you are presenting with. So unless you address or know where your weaknesses are, you're really setting your body up for some biomechanical malfunctions along the way. And you'll think, I'm always plagued with a sore back, and I'm always, I've got really weak ankles, and I'm always plagued with, I don't know, whatever that is.
Sure.
So you keep doing what you've always done, and you may be going along to classes. And as I say, with the greatest of respect, an exercise instructor or who's teaching a fitness class, they're not really, in a sense, qualified to be saying, if you turn up and say, all right, my hips are sore or my knees are sore today, what happens there? You get told that, oh, that's fine. Once you're warm, that'll loosen off.
God. What? Yep. Injury, and then you never come back.
So I'm really into self-care. I'm really love helping people get to really understand what their body needs, what their body's about, how to fix it, how to monitor it, and then you've got lots of options and choices. So
that's so key, isn't it? No. I was going to say that's so key, isn't it? I mean, it's like good friends of mine. I'm very privileged to know lots of different people with incredibly different backgrounds, and and certainly a good few of those people have incredibly challenging day-to-day health issues, whether it be chronic pain, whether it be mental, whether it be dietary, like whatever it is, but it's things where it's like, you just wouldn't understand, Jonathan, because this plagues me on a day-to-day basis. I have pains that nobody else is, and yet it's like, but I'm still trying to get the most out of this life experience. I still want to have healthy lungs. And if they then just dive into something, like you said, with somebody who's not taking the time to understand who they are, it either leads to injury and then I'm never touching this again, or it leads to, I'm just, well, that's it. It's not for me. And yet there are... Yeah,
can I just say, it's not even about... Because I certainly don't want to be coming across as casting blame on anyone. This is our culture. Western cultures are slightly removed from their body as a vehicle that gets them through this world. There's an sort of an attachment issue, and that they are unattached.
Yes.
Because what's interesting is that Eastern philosophy has a bit of a mantra about the West, and they have a saying that the Westerners are only interested in their body when it's not working or when it's problematic.
That is very interesting.
We aren't taught this. We aren't taught this information at school, and then when you think about people's because I again heard this a million times. People's experience of exercise, if you like, has maybe been a really bad experience at school PE at secondary.
Yeah, sure.
And that memory stays with them. And if that has been your only hook to get someone to start to understand this thing that is their vehicle and how to look after it and maintain it, etc. We've lost people, you know. So we've lost the person. The interest is no longer there. So you said something that was really interesting really earlier about sort of the diet industry and stuff. So I do this course. I have this course where it's about why diets fail. It's actually a course called the Date with Your Little Black Dress. Now I'm not pushing that, but it's because you mentioned it's the content, right? Yep. So what I have found massively with people that are on diets, and this is like a couple of giveaways for people who are feeling that they're constantly dieting. The first thing I would get you to be aware of is the language that you use to describe your attempts or your successes. So when I'm meeting someone, say someone just wants to work with me because they've got weight issues or whatever, it is amazing, the conversation, and you have to know what you're listening for. And people will tell you, you know, oh, I was really good on that diet and I was really bad on that diet. So they start using really, really negative language in order to express a result. Now, if you understand that words are words, but words are attached to and cause emotion. So, for example, if I was saying to you, oh, Jonathan, you're really good, you're really good, you're really good, you go. But when you start using the word bad, it's only a word, but it's attached to an emotion. And whether we like it or not now, science has shown that this now affects our physiology and what chemicals we're releasing. So, and I know that we're not here to chat about that, but so I'll go into these kinds of things with my clients, and it's really, really important that as an adult, we stop using what is invariably diet language about being good and about being bad. Yep. Now, another issue with dieting is that, certainly what I've found, how can you start a diet? And by that, remember, the word diet has just been hijacked by the fitness industry. It used to mean your daily consumption. It now has a reference to reduced calorie intake. But when you start a healthy eating plan, if you have had failures in the past and you haven't sorted out some sort of mindset shift, you're on your way to another failure. So what I mean by that, if you're just bringing the same old you to this next diet, so let me give you a scenario. I want you to imagine Jonathan. So Jonathan is a young, busy lad. He's an author, he's a podcaster, he's a really, really busy guy, but he's decided he wants to do some healthy eating. So he's got a little bit of motivation, he's bought some help, or he's Googled something or whatever, but he's got to go on a shopping list and he's got to go and buy some stuff, and then he's got to buy maybe a food blender or a juicer. So he's got some financial capitals going out. He's had to go and do something else. But Jonathan's really, really busy. So Jonathan's diet for the next few days is on track. But on Thursday morning, he's a little bit tired. So he's up late. When he gets up, he can't be bothered juicing because he's late for his meeting. And then it starts to spiral out of control. For me, what I help people to do way before they even start to do any nutrition work is you've got to create some space. How can you take on anything new when you're already at full emotional capacity or full psychological capacity?
That's brilliant. Yeah. It's like there's no room.
Too much.
It's
too much. So part of the stuff that I do with clients is really help them to start. I always describe it as carrying about loads and loads of suitcases that are filled with your emotional stuff, your successes, your failures, but we carry it about. And the cases are like
piled high.
Shut them.
Yep.
No, you need to be able to create some space. This is not about you being good or bad as an adult. This is about choosing at some point a little bit further down the road that you're consciously a way to make some health improvements. And the third thing for your viewers is the people that you are around. So I have worked with wives whose husbands don't want them to lose weight because they don't want them suddenly feeling much more attractive and sexy and attracting all sorts of attention. I've got wives, so the husbands are telling me that when they want to lose weight, the wives are worried about the motives for losing weight, so the wives are feeders and they'll keep feeding.
Goodness.
There's a whole pile of stuff.
Wow.
And why this is an issue is because 98% of diets fail within the first 12 months.
Yep.
Now, people know what they're eating or what they should be eating. You just have to pick up a magazine and it'll tell you, here's healthy breakfast and here's healthy lunches. So, in my experience of 20 odd years, it's never about, well, that's actually not true. Some people are a bit unsure what to eat. I get that. But the main thing is all the emotional confusion.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's a help for people to think, do you know what, I need to have a little look at maybe the language that I'm using on myself, be a little bit kinder to yourself. Think about who you're around. Is there someone slightly sabotaging? And it could be gentle sabotage. It could be a wind up at work. Oh, is that you on a diet again? You know, it is amazing the environment that you have to look at. So if you think about the words that you're using on yourself, if you think about the environment you're in, and this isn't about just going and healthy eating, it's about trying to create some space in what is probably a manic life that we all have. Because in order to get a new result, you have to maybe be prepared that other things are needing to change, not just what you've went and bought on a shopping list.
Yep. Well, this comes back to again choosing. And again, it can just be little things, little financial or time-saving or relationships that you just choose to give up. This comes back to sacrifice. And I think, we've certainly grown up with a culture where it's like, even that word has so many negative, limiting, what's the best English for that? But it's a word that we don't particularly like. Sacrifice means, ouch, I need to give something up. I don't like it. It sounds archaic. But actually, the reality of that is, maybe I'll just give up a little thing. Or maybe when I catch myself thinking that I'll remember this, remember what was said from a professional and be like, oh yeah, no, actually I do have the power to be like, no, I don't actually need to think about it that way. I can redirect my thinking to be like, what is the end goal? What do I actually want out of this? That's why I'm choosing to make this small baby step decision. This conversation is one of rebuilding your character to then have your body and mind made stronger, which, to be honest, is everything I want this podcast to be. This is not just we're all going to look like Greek gods. I'm not interested in that. I'm also not interested in people being incredible artists. What I want out of this is for people to look at their lives and be like, actually, what can I do that I want to do, even if it's a baby step, to get myself closer to who I really want to be. That's what I'm interested in. So for you to say all this is just like, yep, boom, 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 brilliant. It's practical,
so
makes
Jonathan,
sense.
That's been real experiences for me. I can right away think of a woman who stayed overweight because she couldn't handle the compliments from men. Now that's not a nutrition issue.
No.
That's not a should I have a carb? Should I have a freshly squeezed mango hoofer doofer juicer on a Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock, and then I've got to have pomegranate seeds with kaffir leaves at money. That's not what any of that's about.
No, it's got nothing to do with that.
So this woman had a real issue, and I see these issues and work with these issues all the time. Wow. So if you're in a house, for example, where your husband and wife or partner or colleague is making your new decision difficult, because what have you got there? That unfortunately comes down to fear of loss. It comes down to fear of loss for that significant other.
Yep.
If my wife becomes slim fit, there's going to be all these guys hovering about. If my husband becomes slim fit, there's going to be all these women, and they might lose me, and then it becomes fear of loss. So I have worked with my client, and then they've said, do you know what, do you think you can come and have a chat with my significant other, because I've got no intention in leaving them, but I really want to lose weight because my doctor has said I'm overweight, I've got high blood sugar, I don't like how I look, you know. So it's amazing how all of this emotional stuff is attached to what people perceive as why can I not stick to a diet?
Yeah.
Why am I on diet number 7? So when I sit with them and say, right, see, today we're not going to talk about carbs and proteins and shakes for breakfast, and if you have 1900 calories, and we're going, I'm not saying that's got nothing to do with that, would be ridiculous.
No, but it's
but if it was
that's
only,
not the main issue here. Yeah.
No, if that was the only issue, Jonathan, 98% of diets wouldn't fail.
That's amazing. That's I love it. I love it. You get to the heart of it. You're acknowledging the real issues, and you're taking the time to talk people through what's really going on and provide clarity and provide peace of mind. And like you said, take the damn pressure off so people can actually get to where they want to go. That's amazing. Val, we're like pushing for time. We're nearly an hour here. I love it. No. This is absolute gold. Let me just check the notes and see what we've got here, because I think, to be honest, we're rattling through the good stuff. Oh man, I'm so pleased I had you on. Where are we? So, I guess we're just at the stage of, I'll make sure that all of your links and everything are in the show notes so that people know where to find you, and we'll just fire them over to me, and I'll make sure they're all good to go. First question before we get to the final one. Is there anything I've missed? Is there anything that you would really, really like to talk about before we get to my last question for you?
Well, just really quickly, very soon, Go Gym, which is our social enterprise, we are going to be running a 5-day health and fitness challenge. And in this, although we are doing exercise lives, is massively educational. And I know that it's really easy for me to say, but all we can do is let you see what people have said when they've done the 5-day challenge. And the general theme is, oh my God, I totally think about nutrition and exercise in a totally different way.
Excellent.
And what we do with those profits, everyone, is that because we are a social enterprise, that money goes back into us being able to help someone with cancer, someone with MS, diabetes, etc. So if that is an organisation that people can get behind, they can learn, enjoy, look good, get better health, but also help someone with a chronic illness. If that's an organisation that interests them, then maybe they can check Go Gym out, and maybe that's an organisation they can get behind.
100%. Definitely. Love it. Love it. Love it. I'll make sure that's there. My final question for you, Val, would be, if you could give one piece of advice or one like final message to folk who are just kind of, they're half interested in it, but you know they've come from a background of just not a great response to anything fitness. What would you want to say to people? What would be your kind of message to your everyday folks who are just kind of half finding their way with all this?
Wow, Jonathan, what a question. That's naughty. If that was so, that is your question, and I never back down from a question. So I would want people to sit and have an honest conversation with themselves.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And think about maybe times when things, so if we stick to just light topics, so if their exercise regime didn't work out, so in context, what does that mean? It means that if they've given up exercise and they haven't exercised for a while, you know, exercise, so looking after your body has to be a lifetime pursuit. You know, and sometimes you're not in the mood of it, and sometimes people will say, suppose my parting words, if they are of any interest to anyone, would be, don't wait to be motivated to do anything to do with your health and fitness. Motivation is a bit of an illusion. So if I could quickly just put that into context, very quickly, I want everyone to imagine it's coming up to Christmas, which then is followed by New Year, which includes New Year's resolutions. And coming up to that, people get really excited. That's it, New Year, I'm starting a diet, I'm running marathons, I'm joining the gym, I'm way to buy Lycra, I'm way to buy all of these things. And they're pumped and they're hyped, and then they even ask family members for all this stuff for their Christmas, and they've got the gear and the new trainers and the Apple thing to get their phone in with their headphones. And then they've decided it's the 3rd of January, and they're waking up, especially if they're in Scotland on the 3rd of January, and it's raining and it's snowing and it's cold. And then they look out the window and they've set out all their stuff the night before, and then they just stick the cover over their head and roll over. And that is quite simply that the mood that they said all this stuff in, that hyped up mood that they said it in, has long since left them. Has gone. That mood is gone. So what you have to end up doing with yourself is just deciding you're going to follow through on a promise that you made yourself. So many people don't like paying their mortgages, but they like having a roof over their head, or they don't like a car payment, but they like a car. You exercising, come mood, come rain, come shine. But even to use a bit of a softer word than exercise, if you want to practice self-care, the payment is your general health, your mental health, your ability to move, ability to feel good about your body. So that would probably be my parting shot, if I'm allowed one, is to don't wait to be motivated. Motivation in that context is an illusion. Make yourself a promise and just, I would say, follow through on that promise, and just be really, really kind to yourself, and watch what company you keep, etc., when you're thinking about your nutrition. So take some of those tips from the nutrition and don't wait to be motivated.
Brilliant. I love that. Thank you very much, Val. Like that's actually solidified a few things in my way of thinking. I think your point on motivation is just so apt. Motivation is a word which has been branded with hype, but what it really means is having a reason to do that thing that you said you were going to do. What is that reason? Stay true to the promise you made to yourself. That's excellent. I love it. Right, let's call it, folks. Thank you so much for chiming in. Valerie, thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom. I'll put all your links in the show notes. Take care, everybody. Thank you.